Hello everyone, Andy here, and here's what you can look forward to in today's episode. In today's episode, I was joined by American TJ as we preview Week 2 of the 2025 NFL season. I struggled to decide who wins between the Bears and the Lions.
Do I see the Bears shocking the Lions? Is this my shock of the week?
TJ discusses his Broncos ahead of their game against the Colts.
So we've got a very, very good defense. My issue is the offense.
As both me and TJ predict each game winner in the episode. Hope you all enjoy.
Wow. Hello and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast. I am, as ever, your host, Andy Davis, and we are here to preview Week 2 in the NFL. Now, with me today, I've got a guest who is a first-timer on the podcast, and he is well known to the British NFL community. With us for the first time is TJ, otherwise known as American TJ. TJ, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to be on the podcast.
Well, it's good to have you on. I've seen you a lot on my social media the past 12 months. You've been very active on there, and it's been good to see your growth. But as an NFL fan, of course, there are 32 teams in the NFL. I asked this question to all of our new guests. Out of all the 32 teams, why did you pick your team? So in your case, it's the Broncos. Why did you pick the Broncos? And you got a Peyton Manning jersey behind you as well. Why the Broncos?
I wish I could tell a really interesting story about how I had a family member who lived in Denver, or I met a player, or the first game I watched, I fell in love with Peyton Manning. But I literally, when I was 11 years old, I put every NFL team into a random name selector, and I got the Denver Broncos.
Wow. I mean, that's not actually, you're not the first person to say that. There's been a couple that have said that in the past, previous guests, and it's the fairest way, I suppose. It is the fairest way. You can't. There's no sort of glory hunting. There's not at all any sort of reason why, and it's just who you got given. So I think that's sometimes it's the fairest reason to pick a team.
100%, and it's the fairest, 100%. But it can be a bit volatile. Thankfully, I didn't, get the Dallas Cowboys or even worse, the Las Vegas Raiders. Can you imagine that?
Well, they're winning Week 1. Ashton Genty, Pete Carroll, they're on the up. Brock Bowers as well. So you never know. Raiders fans could finally be getting some sort of reward after a long period of struggling, my brother included. I'm glad you mentioned actually about meeting a player. My girlfriend's dad, who is very inverted commas a Broncos fan, because he met John Elway in the 80s.
Whoa!
He was on some rugby tour in Denver, and they went on a tour in America, went to a tour in Denver, and he got to practice on the Denver Broncos facilities. And John Elway got to meet all the players and shook everyone's hands. So my girlfriend's dad can say that he has shaken Elway's hand.
Wow! I hope he hasn't washed that hand since.
Yeah, it's an amazing. I mean, that's kind of. I've met players at like NFL events and stuff like that, but to actually meet them in that sort of setting is, I must say, I was really jealous when he told me that for the first time.
No, I'm 100% jealous right now. Like, I think that's the best time to meet a player, is like when it's not been set up, when it's not kind of expected, and like you kind of just, you just bump into them. Hopefully one day I'll get to. Well, we'll see. We'll see how he does this week, but I'll still hope that I get to meet Bo Nix sometime soon.
Is there a player in your time being a fan? I don't know how many years it's been, but is there a time is there a player in your time as a fan that you would like to meet the most?
I would definitely say Peyton Manning for obvious reasons. Peyton Manning is probably my favorite. Peyton Manning is my second favorite player of all time. But if someone said, if I won the national lottery and they said, right, you get to pick anyone that you can meet in the world, it would 100% be Deion Sanders. I am wearing a Michigan jersey, Michigan top at the moment, but let's ignore that because I am a massive Colorado fan. And I'm not really the biggest fan of the Falcons, the Cowboys, or the 49ers Deion's played for, but that's just how big of a Deion fan I am. So yeah, it'd probably be Deion Sanders.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, with the Cleveland Browns coming to town, you never know. He could be in the Tottenham Stadium for all we know. He could be sitting there in row B in a seat 5, sitting there watching his son play as a backup and watching him on the sidelines for 4 quarters. But either way, yeah, I think for me, I kind of have my favorite player of all time, Derrick Henry. I did meet him at a Titans practice facility. Completely lost. I was like, trying to find my way to the practice facility, and I'm walking past the hotel room, and Derrick Henry just walks past me, and I did ask him for a picture, which I probably shouldn't have, but being my favorite player of all time, I just had to do it because how often do you get a chance? He's just walking past you to ask him for a picture. So yeah, that was cool. Wouldn't say he's the most talkative of moods. I think Harry definitely maybe he didn't want the picture so much, but it's still cool to do. And I think Todd Gurley would be the next one I'd like to meet as well.
Wow.
But moving on let's head on to week 2, and we are going to preview and once again predict all of the games winners in this week. And we have the second installment of this season, Andy versus the guest. So in week 1, we had Andy versus the guest with 2 fans on in Two Boys from the Franchise Tag podcast. It's Steelers fan Freddie Hall and Jets fan Johnny Bisbee. And they had the task of trying to beat me in the first round of predictions. Now, in total, no one beat Andy, but I think in total, I got 11, as did Freddie, and Johnny got 10 correct scores. So at the moment, Andy versus the guest for this season is currently at 0-0. But some of highlight picks, both me and Johnny went for the Chargers to beat the Chiefs, as well as this. Both me and Freddie went for the Packers to beat the Lions, whereas Johnny did go for the Lions. I almost got the Browns pick, my shock of the week, bang on, as they almost beat the Bengals if it wasn't for some dodgy kicking from Austin Smite that actually might have come true. We all had wins for the Panthers, all had wins for the Broncos, the Dolphins, the Raiders. And then in terms of the game of the week, Bills-Ravens, myself and Freddie both went for Buffalo, whereas Johnny did go for the Ravens, whereas Johnny went for the Vikings, as did Freddie, but I went for the Bears. So a bit of a mixed week, as first week's always a bit of an anomaly, always a bit of a tough one to call. But TJ now got a chance to try and beat me in Andy versus the guest.
Let's do it.
Week 1 is a Thursday night game, and it's at Lambeau Field as the Green Bay Packers take on the Washington Commanders. Of course, the Commanders getting their first win against the Giants, which was shown on Channel 5, and the Packers demolishing the Lions in a dominant defensive performance from the Packers. Guess first, TJ, over to you. Who is winning this game for you?
That's a very tough one. That is a very tough one. But I think the Packers will continue. I'm going to go Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I'm going for the same. I think at home as well. You'll have that advantage on a shorter week as well. And I just think I was more impressed by the Packers win against a team who was 14, 15 wins last year, then a Commanders win, which was dominant, but against a team that they expect to win. I think
100%.
that factor, we said we recorded our predictions episodes for the season prior to the Micah Parsons trade. I was saying they've got no real X factor, no real star, but now they got him. You can see a complete change on that defense. And I think this Packers team now, with the Lions maybe not looking at their best, they got a chance here to try and win this division. Them and the Vikings. So I think the Packers for me are really legit. I had them win the Super Bowl, making the Super Bowl last year, losing to the Ravens.
Wow.
This year I didn't have them doing that, but I think they're going to be a team to look out for this year, and I think that defense alone is going to win them a lot of games. Moving on to the 6 p.m. slate on the Sunday. First up is the Ravens hosting the Browns. I'm going to go for the Ravens to win this one. I think the Browns showed some life against the Bengals, but the Bengals do notoriously start bad in a season, so I'm not going to put too much sort of hope in that. And they still lost as well. So the Ravens, with me, they'll be absolutely fine. They lost in week 1 in heartbreaking fashion, but I have no doubt that the Ravens is going to be one of the teams to beat this year in the AFC. I mean, Derrick Henry, if you take away that fumble he had a tremendous day. 169 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, the Ravens would be absolutely fine here. I think it's one of the easiest ones to call. They'll get back to winning ways against the Browns. TJ, same sentiment, or are you going for a shot?
I'm going to go for the Ravens as well, 100%. I think what you said was perfect. If Derrick Henry doesn't fumble the ball, then the Ravens are winning that game. Obviously, Buffalo comes back. I don't know what was happening in the city of Buffalo, but I just think there was something in the air. I think if you play that game 100 times over, I think the Ravens probably win that game about 95 times. So yeah, I'll go with the Ravens. I mean, the Browns. Yeah, the Browns are the Browns. I didn't even check out the Browns versus Bengals game. I probably should have because it looks pretty exciting. But just kind of going into the season with the Browns, I don't really like what's going on with the instability at QB. Obviously, I think they've now just signed another QB to the roster. I think the ownership probably knows that they're not going for a winning season. The only thing that the Browns might have in this game is the fact that they always want to get one over against the Ravens, especially as a rivalry. But I can't really see it. I think Derrick Henry is going to come back stronger. Lamar Jackson's going to come back stronger. And Myles Garrett's probably going to have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just felt in that game like there was, you said exactly right, something in the air. And I think there's going to be that all year. I mean, I said it before in the last episode. Bills fans want to end their time at Highmark Stadium with a win in the AFC Championship game. It just felt like with the deflected pass to Keon Coleman, with the fumble from Henry, who never really fumbles ever, it just felt like it is maybe potentially meant to be for them. And I think it'll be a fairy tale ending now. Week 1 doesn't win you Super Bowls. And I think there's many teams who won Super Bowls that have started slowly. So I don't think we should take week 1 as gospel and say, okay, Bills are going to make the AFC title game and win it. But I think those kind of moments, I think, could get looked back on in the end of the season as those sort of meant to be moments in the NFL. And I think when that fumble happened to Henry, there was just a complete switch in the atmosphere in that stadium. And I don't think the Ravens scored a point after that point. I think if I'm right, they didn't score a point after that moment happened. So, yeah, Ravens, but I think they'll be absolutely fine in this game. Next up, talking to the Bengals, they host the Jacksonville Jaguars. TJ, who wins this for you?
Bengals versus Jags, you said?
Yes.
Oh. I really like the Jags. I really, really like the Jags. Trevor Lawrence, obviously Jags fans, they've never really known what they're getting. I've been a massive Trevor Lawrence fan since he was like 16, 17 on Elite 11. And obviously now they've got Travis Hunter as well. Oh, go on then. Yeah, I'm going to go Jags for this one.
Okay. I'm also going for the Jags. I just think the Bengals were lucky to get a win in week 1. They don't start seasons well enough. I think the defense was fine against the Browns, but I think against a team like the Jags, who I thought were really impressive in that opening win against the Panthers, whether it's the Panthers being bad, I don't know yet, but I'm going to take the Jags as well. I just think that even though it's in Cincinnati, I think if this was a Week 15 game, I would be sitting here and saying Bengals are going to win because Bengals do get hot late on in the season, notoriously under Burrow and Zach Taylor. But yeah, I think for this one, I think Jags might get the win. Next up is Giants at Cowboys. This is easy for me. I'm going for the Cowboys to win. I think I was really impressed with what I saw in that Thursday night game against the Giants, against the Eagles. They got a shorter week as well. Sorry, they had a longer week as well. Extra 3 days rest. Giants weren't looking good at all in this game. I still think they'll start with Russell Wilson. I don't think they got any plans to play darts unless it gets really bad in New York. I think from what I saw, there was nothing in that Giants offense that I saw that made me think they're going to cause some problems for the Cowboys. Nealand and Kenny Clark were really impressive in that loss against the Eagles. And I think they were just a few CeeDee Lamb drops away from winning that game. So for me, Cowboys, I think, are way better than we thought they were going to be so far. And yeah, give me the Cowboys to win. TJ, Cowboys or Giants?
Oh, Cowboys every single day of the week. Exactly what you said. I'm really excited for Dak Prescott this season. I think we saw versus the Eagles, he's kind of going into a bit more of a leadership role. Looks like the team are kind of swarming around him. I don't know what's happened behind the scenes, but I don't think he meant it for it to be this way, but I think the Micah Parsons trade long term might actually help the Dallas Cowboys. I think it kind of just shakes up the locker room, especially from a defensive side. I think there's going to be a lot of players on that defense as well that are now going to need to step up. And obviously, they're not going to be able to get to the quarterback as much, but I think it's a bit of a reset for the Dallas Cowboys. And I hate the Dallas Cowboys. I also hate the New York Giants. So with this game, it would be great if they both lost, but I think the Cowboys are going to blow out the New York Giants. I would go as far to say, will the New York Giants even get a touchdown in this game? I think if it gets to the third quarter, then you're going to start looking at Russell Wilson and thinking, right, do we put in Jackson Dart? We'll see, but yeah, I don't think the question is who's going to win. I think the question is, do New York get over 7 points?
That is a take. I think, if I'm honest with you, I kind of wouldn't be shocked if that happened. Because, who have they got? They got Malik Neighbors, and that's really about it. And if Russell Wilson can't get the ball to him, especially if the defense is causing them problems, I just don't. Yeah, I think the best way they'll get 7 points or more is through field goals. I think you could easily see them maybe having 9 points in this game, 3 field goals across 4 quarters. I don't think there's much in this Giants offense that make you think they're going to beat many teams this year, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Next up, though, is the very interesting game. If you're a Lions fan or a Bears fan, as these two meet, Ben Johnson, of course, is returning to Detroit, who he spent a lot of years with as the offensive coordinator. And I've heard Amon-Ra St. Brown recently saying the players may even boo him as well as the fans when he comes back to Detroit. And being obviously an NFC North division game as well, it's going to be really exciting. And I think as well, there's the element where one team's going to go 0-2 unless they tie. So there'll be a lot of tension in the air, especially if the Lions are losing. You think about how good they were last year. They lost 2 games all year last year in the regular season. If they're going out and, they're down by 10 in the fourth quarter with the potential to go 0-2, that is going to raise some serious alarm bells. But on the flip side, the Bears, they were unlucky not to win that game on Monday Night Football. I thought they were really impressive in the first half, especially. I thought the O-line did a really good job of protecting Caleb Williams at times in their first 2 quarters. Do I see the Bears shocking the Lions? Is this my shock of the week? No, I'm going to go for the Lions to win. I just think that even though they were pretty bad against the Packers, I just think the Packers were just a better team on the day. I think it's just a dominant performance. I think that defense was really impressive from the Packers, as I said before. But I don't think this Bears defense looks good at times. With their new DC, I forgot his name again, but he's the old Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen now they look good at times, but I think their fourth quarter collapse maybe put me off them maybe having a defense that's going to win them a lot of games. I think they'll still be a 7-8 win team. But yeah, give me the Lions to win. I think they'll get back to winning ways against this Bears team. TJ, Bears or Lions?
I'm in the same predicament as you. I really want to go for the Bears here. Caleb Williams, I've been defending this man since he was getting subbed on at Oklahoma, to be honest. For some reason, no one likes Caleb Williams except for me. And I think going into his second season, I think he's got a massive chip on his shoulder. I think you looked at Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix basically have better seasons than him from an eye test. Caleb Williams statistically last season was actually quite good. I don't think he didn't throw an interception for like 6 weeks or something. And when you look at a quarterback who loves to leave the pocket, loves to kind of improvise on a lot of plays, it's quite surprising how efficient he was at getting the ball in his receiver's hands. But it's the Detroit Lions in Detroit at Ford Field. I think the issue I have with the Chicago Bears is when you look at their roster, they actually have a very decent roster. But it's the Chicago Bears. And I know that's not a very intellectual take, but it's just the Chicago Bears. And they proved that versus the Vikings. It's the Chicago Bears. Can they shake that off? Is Caleb a big enough... is he a big enough variance? Is he a big enough aggregate to be able to shake off the Bears? Basically, bozo gene is what I like to call it. So the controversy in me wants to say the Bears, but I'm going to go with the Lions. But I think it will be no more than a 6-point game.
I wouldn't be shocked if that happened either. I think it could be a field goal to win the game, maybe in this, or maybe a late touchdown and a missed extra point. Next up, though, is the game in New Orleans as the New Orleans Saints host the 49ers. TJ, who wins this for you?
This is going to be the 49ers. New Orleans, again, I didn't watch their game from last week. I'm glad I didn't, because looking at the statistics, they were awful. Statistically, the worst team in the league, actually, when you look at kind of all the underlying stats. And quarterback situation. Obviously, they're going with Spencer Rattler this year. Tyler Shuck is there. I actually quite like Tyler Shuck coming out of Louisville. Obviously, I think he's like a 6-year starter. But then you've also got Spencer Rattler. I did like Spencer Rattler coming out of University of South Carolina, actually. University of South Carolina. But yeah, the 49ers, Brock Purdy looks like he's kind of returning back to his consistent best. I know people don't like Brock Purdy being called a game manager, but he just is very good at managing games, unfortunately. I'll go with the 49ers, and I'll stick another bit on top of that. I think the 49ers will win by 21.
Wow, hot take. No, I agree. Niners win this game for me. I do think there was a bit of worry on the offensive line. I think there was a lot of times where Purdy was forced to throw really quickly because of how the struggles and how bad the O-line were at times. But I don't think this New Orleans defense is going to cause them as many problems as the Seahawks defense would have caused them in week one. And I was really impressed with the likes of Ricky Pearsall on Sunday just gone. There was an amazing catch from Tongs to win that game. The third choice tight end. It was incredible catch in that sort of battle in coverage, man on man. But they had their issues. Jake Moody's been cut in the last few days, replaced by Eddie Pinheiro. So they're not a best week for Moody. But I just think, despite the O-line problems I saw with the Niners, I don't think this Saints team's going to cause them any problems at all. So yeah, give me the Saints. Give me the 49ers to win that game. Next up, though, is involving my team, the Dolphins, as we host the New England Patriots. AFC East division game, of course. The thing is, I want to be a homer and go for the Dolphins to win. I want to have faith in the players. It could be just a week one anomaly, but the Patriots weren't great either. And I think both teams struggled in the secondary a lot in this game. And I think it comes down to who am I trusting more to go win this game. Because I think both have got a good defensive front. I think we were really good at stopping the run at times against the Colts. Only one drive. There was 7 total plays in the whole game against the Colts where we allowed more than 10 yards rushing in a play, and 4 of those came in one drive. So, if you take away that one drive, we actually were pretty good at stopping the run. And I don't believe there's enough there, apart from Hunter Henry, that's going to cause Stephon Diggs on his day. Many problems for the Dolphins team. But the secondary is really bad for the Dolphins, way worse than the Patriots is. So I go for my head on my heart, because I think the one thing I'm going to go for the Dolphins to win on the one basis that Tua's never lost to the Patriots in his career. That's the only reason I'm going to go for them to win, because he's 7-0 against the Patriots, both when Belichick was there, when what the hell was the guy's name last year, and then obviously now Mike Vrabel's there. But Mike Vrabel did cause one of the most heartbreaking losses in recent years at the Titans in his final year there, which cost us massively in terms of the playoff seedings that year in 2023. So I'm going to go for the Dolphins to win but I'm not that. It's probably the least confident I'm on any pick I've made this episode so far, and probably the whole episode in total. I have no faith in this pick at all, but I'm going to go for the Dolphins just to edge out the Patriots at home. TJ, how are you feeling about this one?
I'm going to say that Tua loses his first game against the New England Patriots. I watched Tua versus the Colts, and I was like, wow. There is bad QB play, and then there's that. He missed so many wide open shots. He wasn't on the same page with his receivers. And I just think that the Tua and I always forget the Dolphins head coach,
Mike McDaniel.
Mike McDaniels. I think the Tua and Mike McDaniels experiment in Miami is done. The Dolphins kind of remind me a bit of Brighton. It's like, oh yeah, you got some decent players. You've got a really cool head coach, but what more can you offer us? And I think with a player like Tua, obviously he thrives with the quick throws, play action passes, receivers showing numbers to him. He's always going to be on point. But if Tua Tagovailoa loses even 1% of accuracy, he goes from an above average quarterback to a very below average quarterback. And statistically, again, second worst QB in the week last year. I'm pretty sure he was taking like 1 point off his team's score with every play that he ran. He was just that bad. And will he bounce back? Maybe if they were against someone like the Titans, maybe if they were against someone like the Giants, even the Browns, then I'd be like, okay, it's a good game. But I think the Patriots are heating up. I like Drake May. I think he's going to improve a lot this season. And Will Campbell is one of my favorite players. Didn't have the greatest game in his opener, but I think Will Campbell's definitely got something to prove against that Dolphins front line. So I'm going to go with the Patriots.
Okay, our first actual different answer. It's been all the same so far. It's the first one we're going for a different prediction. Yeah, I mean, if I'm honest, I said before I wouldn't be shocked if we lose this game at all. Mike Vrabel has had our number during his time with the Titans, so yeah, I'm not too confident about this. I'm just hoping that we can turn it around. I think if we lose this game and we got Buffalo in week 3 on the road, actually, are we on the road or? Either way, I think, if we're playing the Bills 0-2, I think there'll be a lot of scared Dolphins fans, I think, going into that game. Speaking of Buffalo, actually, they're our next team as they travel to MetLife Stadium and they take on the New York Jets. TJ, Bills or Jets for you?
I think I'm going to regret this, Andy.
Oh, no.
I think I'm going to regret this. I've got the New York Jets.
Wow.
I've got the New York Jets. I think Justin Field on the Jets is a perfect fit. With the backfield that they have, obviously with Hall, I really like it. I think the Buffalo Bills are really, really good, but I think Josh Allen raises their ceiling exponentially. When Josh Allen doesn't have a good game, the Buffalo Bills don't have a good game. Josh Allen obviously doesn't have a lot of bad games, but the Bills are at home or the Jets are at home?
Jets are home.
Yeah, I'm definitely going with the New York Jets. And yeah, Buffalo. I think Buffalo, when it comes to like rushing QBs, they're not great. They're really not great. They obviously struggled against Lamar, Derrick Henry last game. You look back into their games versus the Chiefs last season. Who else did they play at the end of last year in the playoffs? Can't remember who else they played in the playoffs last year. But they're just not good recently, anyway, in the last kind of 5 or so games against rushing QBs. I think the Jets are going to come out sour with their loss versus the Steelers. I don't think this is going to have any real kind of detriment on the Bills season. I still think the Bills will kind of go deep into the playoffs, possibly get to the Super Bowl. But I like Justin Fields. I love the New York Jets. I'm going to go to New York Jets.
Wow, that is the hot take. I mean, as you can probably guess, I've gone for the Bills. Yeah, I mean, the Bills have got these games in them, especially in the regular season. They're pretty dominant. And I think this division this year is going to be really easy for them to win. But they have these games every year where they'll lose a game really when no one's really expecting it. Remember, there was a game against your Broncos a few years ago where no one was really expecting it, and that was a crazy game in itself. But I don't think they then lost to the Jets in week 1 that same season. Aaron Rodgers went down after four offensive plays. And I just feel like I don't think that'll be today. Not today. I don't think that'll be on Sunday. I just think that the Jets were amazing on offense, really impressive against the Steelers. Justin Fields, some of the RPO plays he was playing. There was one particular bootleg run he made where it was just there was not old one from Peyton Manning with the Broncos a few years ago, 10 years ago now or so, where he faked the bootleg, and it was really cool to watch. And it was the same thing I saw against the Steelers, but on the flip side, the defense worried me. I mean, giving up 30 odd points, it was not a good performance from the Jets defense. I just think that it's one thing playing against Aaron Rodgers, who I think will have a good year. I think he'll have a comeback year. It's another thing playing against Josh Allen in this Bills team, whether it's James Cook coming at you, whether it's Josh Allen using his legs, or Josh Allen throwing it to Kincaid or Coleman. I just think that the Bills have too much in their weaponry right now to lose this game. So, yeah, give me the Bills. Next up, though, is the Pittsburgh Steelers hosting the Seattle Seahawks, and I'm going for the Seahawks to win this game. I was really impressed with their defense against the Niners. Now, I know they didn't win the game. I know that obviously they did lose to the Niners, but at the same time, there was a lot to be positive about with this Seahawks team. I think this defensive performance they put out, putting the pressure on Brock Purdy, getting to him. You think about there was quite a good few red zone plays from the defense and the Seahawks. Love in particular for the Seahawks made some really good touchdown saving tackles. There was just so much I was impressed by the Seahawks defense. Now the offense was, Darnold looked fine, looked more comfortable than he did maybe before when he was with the Panthers or the Jets. But I just think against the Steelers team, despite Rodgers' performance, I don't know whether I can trust that every week with how poor their defense was at times against the Jets. So give me the Seahawks to win this game. I can see Sam Darnold maybe having one of the best performances of the week. I just think that the Seahawks team, I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs, but I think they could win this game. I think fairly convincingly. But TJ, how are you seeing it? Steelers or Seahawks?
I'm going to follow you. I'm going to say Seahawks. Seahawks defensive coordinator, actually. Shout out Aidan Durday. Obviously British NFL coach. And he's set up that Seahawks defense really nicely. Obviously, Seahawks' issue last year was O-line. I can't remember what O-line moves they made in the offseason. But they were obviously unfortunate to lose to the 49ers. But with the Steelers, the Steelers scrape past the Jets. Aaron Rodgers, I think he'll have a good season for a 41-year-old. I'll put it that way. So I'll go with the Seahawks in this one as well.
Then our final 6 p.m. game is a game involving the Titans and the Rams at Nissan Stadium. TJ, who wins this for you? Rams or Titans?
I'm going to go with the Rams. That Titans O-line, I'm not going to say they sold versus my Broncos. That was a tough watch, by the way. But I definitely think that as a rookie quarterback with not the greatest offensive line, if you're coming up against a competent defense with the Rams they're better than competent. But I think they're still growing. They've still got a lot of young pieces on defense. I like the Rams, but I think again Cam Ward, he makes some really nice throws. I think he'll put up some really nice tape, and I think Titans fans will kind of come away from the game being like, well, we lost by 1 score versus the Broncos in week 1. I think this game might maybe be 10 points in this game, and I think the Titans fans will come away from this game thinking, wow, Cam Ward is really good. So whilst I think the Rams will win, I also think that there'll be a lot of talk about Cam Ward coming out of this one, but I've still got the Rams to win.
Yeah, I've got the Rams as well. I mean, the Titans, I think they showed, Cam Ward showed at times what he can do. There was that one play fairly early on in the game where he sort of threw like an emergency screen pass and it sort of escaped the sack and got a play moving that way. I think Tony Pollard made about 15, 20 yard or maybe more gain from that play. And I think there was a clear, message in this game that the Titans haven't got anyone for him to throw to. The weapons aren't there. And I think that's going to be a theme of the season. I don't see him having maybe the same impact other quarterbacks have had recently, like Stroud or Daniels, with teams who've struggled in the past. I think it'll be a testing year for him. I don't think he's going to be awful, but I think it's going to be one of those ones where he'll be the shining light in a poor overall team because there was not a lot to be that excited about. I don't think for the Titans in this game, apart from maybe Cam Ward in a few moments. But yeah, exactly what you said against the Rams, I just think this is going to be too tough of a test for them to compete with. I think the Rams team are, if Stafford's healthy, they're going to go far this year. I really do think they're going to go far in the playoffs should Matt Stafford be healthy. And yeah, I think this team, and you got the likes of Kobe Turner, Byron Young, Braden Frisk, Jared Verse, against this Titans defense, I think Titans offense is going to cause a lot of problems. Puka Nacua, Dante Adams, Kieran Williams. It's a good team, and I think this will be an easy, maybe like a 12, 14 point win. I think for this one. Moving on though to our 9 p.m. slate as the Arizona Cardinals host the Carolina Panthers. I'm going for the Cardinals to win. I think the Panthers had a really concerning performance in week 1 against the Jags. And I don't think, they're going to be on the road again in Arizona. And I just think that I don't think the Cardinals team were perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I think it was a bit of a tepid performance from them in week 1 against the Saints. But I think at home against the Carolina Panthers, give me the Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Cardinals as well. But I think this could be this is a potential banana peel, banana skin. That's the one. A potential banana skin for the Cardinals. Obviously, Kyler Murray, one of my favorite QBs. Not one of the best QBs, but one of my favorite QBs. So I think Kyler Murray will have a good game. As you said, the Panthers were quite worrying in their opener. And I just really hope that Tetairoa McMillan. For anyone that hasn't watched my content, you'll know that I absolutely love Tetairoa McMillan. In every kind of mock draft from like the best part of 12 months, I've been like, he is going to go in the top 10. I hope the Cards win. I think the Cards will win, but I just hope that Tetairoa McMillan has a good game.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm honest, I'm not the biggest college football watcher. Always keep an eye on the Florida Gators. And I always, like to keep up with the scores, but I just haven't got the time to watch it, basically. So I haven't really seen too much of him before the draft came out. I hadn't really heard of him before. I saw mock drafts coming out of different media outlets. But no, I think it's hard to gauge after week 1 what he can do. But I think from what I've seen from the very brief YouTube highlights, he looks like he could be a fairly good player. Now, the game of the week, Super Bowl 59 rematch as the Chiefs host the Philadelphia Eagles. Of course, the Eagles did beat the Chiefs in New Orleans back in February in this game. They're on the road in Chiefs and Arrowhead. TJ, who wins this for you?
I think the Eagles walk into Arrowhead, and I think they blow out the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs fans they might turn onto the team with this result. And I'm talking very confidently that this has already happened, but that I've already seen the vision, Andy. The Jalen Hurts Eagles, they walk in, they drop 40 points. Chiefs maybe get 14, 17. But I just don't see how the Chiefs. Obviously, you've got Xavier Worthy, who's questionable. Jalen Royals, who's also questionable. I really like Jalen Royals coming out of college as well. I think it was Iowa State or Utah State. I can't remember which one. So they don't really have much options at receiver. Obviously, they've still got Travis Kelce, who grabbed his first reception in like the top of the fourth quarter versus the Chargers. Hollywood Brown, who funnily enough, I accidentally chose in the 5th round of a fantasy draft. So I hope Hollywood Brown has a big game, but I don't think you can really rely on him versus that Eagles secondary. And then who else do they have to kind of stretch the field? Juju Smith-Schuster. If Xavier Worthy isn't playing that game, even if he is playing the game, he's not going to be 100%. Jalen Royals is not going to be 100%. Patrick Mahomes, as great as he is, I don't think he has the ability to elevate the Chiefs' offense above how good the Eagles are. And obviously, we've got Jalen Carter coming back after his very strange interaction with Dak Prescott in the last game. And then obviously you've got other players on the Eagles defense, like Campbell, Jihad Campbell. And I can't see. Not only can I not see the Chiefs winning this, I can't see the Chiefs even coming close to the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Sirianni's going to walk into Arrowhead and show those fans again why they should have won the Super Bowl.
you mentioned Jihad Campbell there. He did a very good video on Jihad Campbell's performance against the Cowboys. So if you are watching his podcast or listen to it, go check out his work on that video. I've gone for the Eagles as well. I think if this was a playoff game like a Super Bowl, I'd have a lot more faith in the Chiefs because they seem to turn up when it matters in these big moments. I mean, 7 straight AFC Championship games, 3 Super Bowls, 2 losses in Super Bowls as well. So they can get done in the big games, but I think in the regular season, they are susceptible to lose these kind of games. I think they lost to the Eagles a couple of years ago in a rematch of the Super Bowl, and you saw Mahomes have a very public outburst to the referees after that game. But I think the Eagles as well, because I think the Chiefs tend to get going late on in the season. I think early on against a team that is better in every aspect, apart from the quarterback, I think this team is, excellent. I don't think they're making the Super Bowl again, the Eagles, but I think they're still a very strong team. And I just feel like Mahomes can make magic happen out of nowhere. He's won Super Bowls throwing to McCole Hardman, Smith-Schuster, and Kadarius Toney, but I think in a regular season game where he has lost 4 times to Josh Allen, where he's never lost him in the playoffs, that shows in the regular season how they can be susceptible to lose these kind of games. If it was in Philly, I'd be saying lock of the week. I'd be saying this is like the most dead cert. Eagles beat the Chiefs. But I think at Arrowhead, their first game of the season there's a chance that the Chiefs could win this because that home crowd is notoriously loud. But so are the Eagles fans. They'll come out in numbers. So yeah, give me the Eagles. I think A.J. Brown had last week not very many receptions. I think this week he may come out more and have a bit of a game. I think definitely in fantasy football, I would suggest putting him in your maybe your flex spots or maybe your WR2, because I think that you can't have him 2 weeks in a row not getting the ball. So I think this is a game for A.J. Brown to torch the Chiefs and give me the Eagles. Back to you, TJ, for the next game, which involves your team. The Broncos facing the Indianapolis Colts in the Peyton Manning Bowl. Who wins this for you?
Oh, it's tough, and I don't even want to think about it. But the Broncos have got the best defense in the league, and I can very easily say that. I can very happily say that. If people want to argue with that, then you can argue with me. I'm always going to win that argument. Defensive Player of the Year. We had other potential defensive players in the year, like Nick Bonito, Zach Allen, and we've got Jade Barron coming in from Texas, Riley Moss, obviously signed Talanoa Hufanga. Dre Greenlaw as well might be coming back from injury. I don't really know what's going on with him. So we've got a very, very good defense. My issue is the offense. And my issue with the offense is Sean Payton. I question him as an offensive play caller. And Bo Nix, I think I'm the only Broncos fan who's still side-eyeing Bo Nix a tiny bit because, he had a decent rookie season. But I think where a lot of people liked Bo Nix is that he just exceeded his own expectation. He didn't exceed being an average quarterback because at the end of the day, last season, he was an average quarterback. You add in, obviously, the point of him being a rookie quarterback, and then, you can give him some props. But as someone who likes to be very unbiased with my own team, as someone who likes to watch my team as a neutral, from an analytical perspective, I just don't see what we have on offense that is better than what the Colts showed us last week. Daniel Jones expected points added per play was something ridiculous last week, like 0.5 or something. Over the course of the game, he added like 15 points onto his team's tally. And I think I'm the only one that predicted that Daniel Jones would be a very good quarterback on the Indianapolis Colts. I've said it once, I'll say it again, he's better than Russell Wilson. And if he actually has some type of consistency, he can actually be a very good quarterback. And whilst I'm saying all of this, it's making me realize even more that the Colts are probably going to win this. But then on the other side, it's the Broncos. We do this thing where like we have a bad week, and then all of our fans are like, "We've got a tough game. We might not win this," and then we might go into Lucas Oil and win like 40-10. That's just something that we do. We would be the team that Daniel Jones has his one bad game against because I think he's going to have a decent season. This is so difficult. This is so difficult. Uh, I'm I'm gonna go with the Broncos. Bo Nix improves. I'm literally contradicting everything I've just said, but that's what being a sports fan is. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Broncos.
Yeah, I've got Broncos as well. I kind of feel like I find it hard to judge the Colts against that bad of a Dolphins team. I feel like against this defense, which is legit, I think we'll see the real Colts, who they are basically. If they can go out and win this game and go 2-0, I think there'll be a lot of expectations raised on the Colts this season, and I just think that against his Broncos defense, which our team did cause the Colts some problems. I said before in the run game, obviously the passing game was horrendous from our defense, but I think against his Broncos defense, which is one of the best in the league at the moment, I can see even if the offense struggles again, I can just see this Broncos team get into this Colts team, and I think again, it's one of the hardest ones to predict. I will say I found that this one the hardest, maybe uh, aside from maybe Bears Lions. I think this one was one of the hardest to predict. I've been back and forth on it, but I think for that defense alone from the Broncos, I'm going to go for the Broncos. Um, Next up is our Sunday Night Football as the Vikings host the Falcons, which is a surprising choice for Week 2 to pick that as a Sunday Night Football game. But of course, you've got two quarterbacks who were rookies last year in Michael Penix Jr. against JJ McCarthy. Maybe that's why. I'm going to go for the Vikings to win. I've been big on McCarthy the whole offseason, well, the whole of last year's draft as well, before he got injured and missed the season. I think he has got a winning mentality. I think we saw it in Michigan. He won games. Obviously, the whole narrative was McCarthy, was carried by a good offensive line, a good team, and didn't need to throw much. But what I've seen in his time at college and what I've seen in that game against the Bears, he's got that. He feels like he has that mentality inside him. It just feels like he can just bail a team out and win them games out of nowhere. You saw what happened against the Bears on Monday Night Football. First two quarters, he was pretty average, maybe even third quarter, but the fourth quarter, he came to life. The throw to Aaron Jones, the thread and needle to Justin Jefferson, the single run he had, the solo run he had, rushing touchdown. It was impressive from him. And I think that from what I've read up and what I've seen on the clips on the YouTube and from the Vikings locker room, what I've seen from comments from players, he seems to already be galvanizing his locker room. And I feel like against the Falcons team that, probably should have at least taken that game to overtime if Q had got his field goal on target. And I think the Falcons always going to be a team where you can't quite predict them week in, week out. They're the hardest team They're the hardest team to predict each week. They're really hard to predict. You don't know what you could get in with them every single week. So I think the Vikings, for me, with that offense, Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones, McCarthy, Hockenson, I just don't see the Falcons. If in Minnesota as well, their home opener, US Bank Stadium, which is really, really loud. It's a tough place to go for a quarterback. Give me the Vikings.
Yeah, that's actually the reason I think why they put it on, because this is actually a replay of the College Football National Championship from 2024. Michael Penix on the Washington Huskies, and then obviously JJ McCarthy on the Michigan Wolverines. Even though I'm wearing a Michigan Wolverines jersey, I think I'm going to go for the Falcons here. I've been saying since he was a quarterback at Indiana, which was like, wow, we're talking all the way back to COVID. I said that Michael Penix was an elite QB. I always had a feeling he was going to get to NFL. I didn't know he was going to go from Indiana to Washington. Obviously suffered a couple of incredibly brutal leg injuries, has come back from that. So he's not the fastest anymore, and you don't really want Michael Penix kind of drifting out of the pocket, but he has got an absolute arm on him. He makes the right decisions. He gets the ball out quickly. His release is insane. He reminds me a bit of like kind of same release as Michael Vick, just a bit less obviously. Michael Vick, one of the best dual threat quarterbacks of all time. Michael Penix is not that, but in terms of throw motion, his accuracy and the kind of velocity that he gets on the ball reminds me a lot of Michael Vick, and obviously another Falcons guy. So I Yeah, I really, really like the Falcons. I'm a big Michael Vick fan. I'll be honest, I think I'm the only person in kind of like the NFL community that's doesn't like JJ McCarthy. I do think he has a winning mentality. I do think he's got that. But I just kind of question the physical traits, his consistency this season. This season, whether he improves next season, I don't know. But this season, I think if that game happens against anyone other than the Chicago Bears, possibly Giants, Panthers, um, respectfully, the fodder of the league, I I don't think they get the win. I think the Vikings will rely a lot on their defense this year. Um, Obviously, they've got a very cool but also slightly psychopathic defensive coordinator who likes to run some insanely multilingual defensive schemes. Um, so yeah, I think JJ McCarthy. I'll even put it like this: two interceptions for JJ McCarthy. He'll get one TD. Michael Penix, three TDs, no interceptions, and they walk out of Minnesota with a very good win.
Interesting. Um, yeah, I can see that happening because they have had an extra day rest compared to the Vikings as well. But I'm still gonna rock with the Vikings. This game, next one, our first of two Monday Night Football games. Still don't know who commissioned this idea to have two games on at the same time, especially as a UK fan, where I tend to watch my games on Game Pass the next morning. How are you going to watch one and avoid the score of the other? Because they show you the footage as it happens when stuff goes on. So I've got to try and pick between the Texans against the Buccaneers or the Raiders against the Chargers. I'm probably going to pick the Texans Bucks because I just love Baker Mayfield, but I don't know. It's either way. I think they're two really exciting games. I think for the Buccaneers, hosts are going to Houston. They're two teams I didn't watch in week one, if I'm honest. They're two games I missed. So it's been one of the hardest to call for that reason. I haven't seen either of them play in their week one. So I'm going to go purely for home advantage. I know it's a bit of a cop-out answer, a bit of a simplistic answer, but I just think at home, the Buccaneers traveling to Houston, I'm going to go for Houston to win that one. And then Chargers traveling to the Raiders, I'm going for the Chargers. I was really impressed with what I saw against the Chiefs in Brazil. Now we said it in the week one review, it is an anomaly, neutral venue, week one. I don't think you can use that performance and say they're going to challenge the Chiefs because, again, it is neutral venue and it's a week one anomaly. But I think Herbert had one of his best performances of his career against the Chiefs in week one. I thought that Quentin Johnson put in maybe even his best performance of his career so far in the NFL. But equally, the Raiders got the win as well. Now, Ashton Jeanty got a touchdown, but he was, I think, somewhat limited in this game. Not many yards. I don't think we saw the best of him in this game. But I just think, even though it's in Las Vegas, I just think the Chargers team, I think overall, are just in a much more further place in their development than the Raiders right now. I think their team is better overall, although I do like Brock Bowers a lot. So give me the Chargers and give me the Texans to win these games on Monday Night Football. TJ, how are you feeling about these two games?
Yeah, the Texans. I'll be so honest. When it comes to the NFC, I'm not really as kind of keyed up on the NFC. I'll probably go with Chargers Raiders, just to see which of my rivals comes out on top. It's very scary being in the AFC West, by the way, this season. Chiefs, Chargers, and Raiders. Raiders nothing to lose. They basically are just the party poopers of the division. They're just going to try and ruin the Chargers, Chiefs, and Broncos playoff runs. Chargers as well. At this moment in time, I'd say the Chargers are better than the Broncos. Obviously, our defense is elite, but our offense is, as we said, with the Colts prediction, is quite dire. And then obviously you've got the Chiefs being reigning champs, reigning Super Bowl participants. So with the Raiders Chargers, first of all, I think I'll go for the Chargers. Again, I do like the Raiders. Geno Smith, one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. I think that trio between Geno, Ashton Jeanty, and Brock Bowers is beautiful. absolutely beautiful. Exactly what you need as a team in a rebuild. With a competent quarterback, a rookie running back who has obviously was very close to breaking Barry Sanders' college rushing record. Will never be broken, but was very close. And then obviously you've got Brock Bowers, who some people can make an argument for being the best tight end in the league, even after in his sophomore season. So I like the Chargers in that game, and then Texans versus Bucks. I would be lying if I said that I knew a lot about the Bucks and a lot about the Texans this year. It's starting to show that I'm more of a college guy now. But I'll go. I'm never going to doubt Baker Mayfield. And you know what? I'll go with a differential because you've chosen the Texans. I'll try and possibly score a point here. I'm going to go with the Bucks.
Okay, so that means that at the end we've got 4 different games with different predictions. So we've all gone for wins for the Chargers, the Broncos, the Eagles, the Cardinals, the Rams, the Seahawks, the Niners, the Lions, the Cowboys, the Jags, the Ravens, and the Packers. Whereas I went for the Dolphins to beat the Patriots, whereas TJ went for the Patriots to beat the Dolphins. TJ went for the Jets to beat the Bills, and I went for the Bills to beat the Jets. And also, as well as this, I went for the Vikings to beat the Falcons. TJ went for the Falcons, and TJ went for the Buccaneers, and I went for the Houston Texans. But there we are. That is the end of our predictions and the end of the episode. So first of all, TJ, thank you for coming on.
No, thank you. Yeah, it's I really like it here. It's a nice chill vibe.
Well, that's good to hear, and hope you guys at home feel that as well. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and hope you all, if you haven't already, will go over to TJ's TikTok. Now, TJ, for those who haven't followed your TikTok before, or your Instagram, or all your work, where can they find you online?
Yep, TikTok is just at American TJ. I'm not American. It's a play on the word American football. Pretty poor, I know, but at American TJ. And on Instagram, which is at American TJ _. And if you want to go watch a British guy vlogging about going to various American football games, then go give me drop a subscribe on YouTube as well.
I actually haven't found your YouTube channel yet. So have you been to many games in the US or games in the UK? What games have you been to on your channel?
So as of now, I've only been to 2. So I went to a college football game in Ireland a couple of weeks ago, and I went to the Brit Bowl this weekend. That episode should be out pretty much any minute now. So by the time that this gets to the viewers, it should be out. So yeah, just like to go to American football games in Europe, especially, and kind of just show Europe's response when American football enters the doorstep.
Well, you mentioned then about games in Europe. Of course, your team, the Broncos, do play in London this year. Are you going to the game this year?
As of right now, I don't have a ticket, but I'm sure I'll find a way. I'm sure I will find a way.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. I'm sure I'll be seeing you there. But this has been the Across the Pod NFL podcast, our Week 2 preview with, as ever, your host today, Andy Davis, with our guest in America, TJ. And we'll see you guys for our Week 2 review. Take care.